So, doing another 400EX top end. This is the same guy that traded, or that had the yellow one with the skirt blown off it, and he traded for this one that was this one didn't run. We already tore down the top end. Needs a whole new top end basically, except for the head, valves. I'll throw some pictures in, but a piece of metal or something got in between the piston and the rings cylinder and scored it up pretty good. If I didn't already mention, this is 2007. It's got reverse and all that stupid stuff. Needs ball joints, but got his top end kit here. This didn't come with it. These are timing chain guides because he needed some of them. Wiseco piston 10-to-1. Came with timing chain, studs, valve stem seals, NGK plug, Cometic set, and this one's going to be a 416, but there's not going to be a cam in it, so hopefully it runs pretty good.
Well, there's no metal at the bottom of the engine.
So we got his carb air box gas tank off. We're gonna have to get some bolts out. Snapped off bolts from when we were doing it last time. Someone's been in here before. This wasn't from us, but yeah, we'll just have to fix that. Yeah, right there. That's the one. But yeah, it's going good so far. He's got a white or a big gun exhaust on it. Forgot to mention that, and Harley bars. Big damn bars. Look at this clutch cable. This thing is tight. Brake line. It's bad. Oh yeah, and we're gonna throw the throttle cable in it too. Get some tires on it eventually. Should be pretty sweet when it's done. So when you're taking these head bolts and washers out, a magnet really helps get that crap out. And then when you're pulling this cam, you can loosen up the tension or just pull it out like we did, because we just swapped cylinders anyways. If it's got a stock cam, and you'll know it has one because of this decompression mechanism on the side right here, an aftermarket cam will just kind of like look like this right here, this bearing surface thing. There's going to be a plunger and a spring underneath this, and you want to make sure that stuff doesn't fly out. But you'll be able to just kind of take your timing chain off and then slide all that out, get these out. These Allen heads here, there's one here and one down there. Get those out and then slide your cam out, get the rest of the things for your head. There's one here and there, and your head should just come off. You gotta pull the exhaust as well. That's just 4 14mm nuts. Got a cylinder head off. Wasn't too hard to do. So now loosen up these two bolts right here, and then these four. You gotta pull this timing guide out. It's already out, but it just pulls out. Nothing holding it in. This one, you gotta take the side cover off because there's a bolt back there. I'll record that. And then from there, you just kind of swap new parts in. Sweet, man.
Applesauce.
You're dumb. This is why I need new guides. Look at that. Oh, that's no bueno. No bueno. Look at this piston. Almost like a two-stroke conversion. So now what you're gonna do, stuff rags in here, get your piston kind of like centered. Oh, damn. Get it centered up in there, stuff some rags in there. Oh my. Then you're gonna take a pick, get the circlips out on each side. Well, you can do one side and then just, good Lord. Then you're gonna slide the wrist pin out. You might need a socket or press or something, but usually they just come out. You don't have to use a socket though. So we got his piston off. We tried to use a puller with like a homemade puller with a socket, bolt, nut, and washer. Moved the wrist pin a little, but it just would not come out. So, I mean, I don't know what to think of it. I know I heard that you're not supposed to do it, but I just took a punch and just punched it the rest of the way out. The rods on these have quite a bit of side-to-side plate. There's quite a bit of a range for the clearance. This one's still in spec. It's between like 0.002 and 18 thousandths or something. This one's in spec, so. But I think they overheated it because there will be bluing on the crank and the rod, but this is quite a bit. And then that wrist pin was stuck and everything, so I'm not sure. But let me know if that was stupid to pound on that with a hammer or not. Well, we were gonna replace this timing chain guide, but I don't have the tool to hold this clutch basket to keep it from turning and doing all that. And I didn't realize that the bolt's way back in there, so we're just gonna do the one side and just run it. Should be fine. We did have to pull the cover off anyways though, because even with these rags in here, all up in here, there was one little spot when I popped that clip out and it fell down in there and got behind the oil pump, so it had to come off anyways. But yeah, we're just gonna do that. Working on his cylinder head now. Pulled the valves out. I'm gonna get all this carbon off, put new valve stem seals on. Pressing them on using a 11mm socket. But yeah, and, he's over there trying to get that gasket off the rest of the clutch cover because it sucks to do and I don't want to do it. This makes no sense to me, but there's less carbon on the exhaust valves than the intake valves. I don't understand that, but I don't know. I'm gonna lap his exhaust valves because the seat on there, let's see if it'll focus. That's probably the best you're gonna get. There we go. Looks kind of pitted almost, but it also looks like just oily spots, but I can't get them off with a rag. And the head side's the same way. So I got this compound here, and I'm gonna lap these valves. This is after lapping for all of, I don't know, 30 seconds. There's still some on there, but I'm gonna hit it again. But look at how much smoother that surface is. Head's the same way. So what you do for this is you take your compound, take one of these, or I've seen people use a drill. I've never done it, so I can't really say anything about that. They make powered valve lapping things, whatever, but I just have one of they came with this valve spring compressor, so I'm using these. Anyways, they have these little suction cups on there, and you put it on the valve, and then you turn them left and right by hand, almost like kind of like starting a fire or something with sticks. You do that, and then pull the valve out, check it, you know, and then, you know, decide if you're gonna go at it again. Like this one, there's still some rough spots in there, so I'm gonna hit it again. Lapping valves isn't really for like grinding them or anything. It's more, it's like a finishing, really. But I don't know. This is it's what we got, and machine work's expensive, so this is what we're gonna do. This is after the second round of lapping. Still pretty rough, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna do one more pass, then it should probably be all right. When you're doing this, you want to make sure to get all that crap out of there, because this stuff will ruin. I mean, I would think, because it's like kind of like metal, but it's like a powder kind of. This one's mixed with water, so it's like, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but in my mind, that would ruin the cylinder. It would score it up. So I would just get all that out of there, but I'm gonna do one more pass on this, and put a new seat in and throw this back together. Kit came with a new NGK spark plug. It's a lot easier to install when the head's off the engine. But if you don't have a spark plug wrench for these, you can take an 18mm socket and grind it down and get it to work. But it's probably better to just get a spark plug wrench, because it needs to kind of be a thin wall so you can get in there. It's kind of a tight space. But you can do what I do and grind down sockets. So he's going to put his clutch cover back on, and the spring there is gone, and we never pulled this arm out or anything. So I was wondering if it fell into the motor or something. Pulled it all apart, or well, not all apart, but looked in there, checked everywhere around my garage, and it's gone. But I put it back together without that spring in there, and everything works just fine. So I don't even know why Honda put that spring in there, but the springs in here for these bolts, you know, they move and things. So now got that back together. Gonna flush the cases with gas just to get any metal and dirt and stuff out. Then start putting the top end together. All right, got his cover on. Flushed the cases. There was quite a big leak from the bottom of his clutch cover, but I got it taken care of. Had to pull it off and kind of clean it up a bit more. But it's good now. There's a quart of oil in the crankcase already, so that's how I know it's good. So now I'll gap the rings in the cylinder. All right, getting ready to gap the rings. This is just I don't know the brand of this cylinder. It's just a cheap one. There was no naming or anything, but I've ran these before. They seem fine. Wiseco rings, piston. This is 10-to-1, and you can tell because here's a stock one side by side. That's perfectly flat, and this one, you see, has a bit of a dome to it. 11-to-1 and 12-to-1 pistons they'll all be taller and everything. When you go to put this piston in, you want to make sure this arrow is pointing towards the exhaust, so you don't put it in backwards. But, oh yeah, they give you new clips and a wrist pin too. Come in this bag. It's pretty cool. They give you instructions on gapping rings and stuff, and telling you what to do if it's 2-stroke or 4-stroke. But every machine's different, so you're just gonna have to kind of search up what the ring gap is supposed to be. You just take your ring, put it in the cylinder, put the piston in, and make sure it's good and flat in there. This cylinder's, it looks pretty good. It doesn't have any gouges or anything in it. The home's good. This surface looks really good, and yeah, I think it'll be just fine. Running some chromatic seals in it, so it should be all right. When you're putting your rings on, there's going to be a marking N, or you know, a dot or something. You're going to want to make sure that's facing up. You can look for a chamfer to tell between your rings. This doesn't have a chamfer, so this is the first ring. This one's a bit beefier. I'm pretty sure these oh, maybe they don't have a chamfer. Anyways, there's an N. This is the second ring. And then you got your oil rings here. I don't think these have any markings on them, but if they got a chamfer on them, it comes with a whole thing here to tell you how to do it if you get Wiseco. So just read this and you can use this, or you know, set it up right. Forgot to mention, you don't gap this spacer here, you just gap these. When you're putting piston rings on, you kind of put them on like a tire. So with these oil spacer rings, I started with the first groove, went down to the second, then the third, because you really don't want to bend these rings. With this, you want to, when you get it installed, you want to make sure that these aren't overlapping. You want to make sure that they're touching like that. This kit comes with a way to clock the rings, but you can also use Parkzilla's method of clocking the rings. It's on their website and they have a YouTube video on it, but you could probably just use these. Then once you get your rings on, you want to clock them. Did my second ring on this side, the wrist pin. My other ring, exactly 180. Then I did my spacer ring right there in the center, you can kind of see it. Then I followed Parzilla's thing 20 millimeters away, did that gap, and then 20 millimeters the other way, did the other gap. It's easier to put your circlip in on this side and then press it in and do one than it is to do both on the thing when it's in the engine, or the frame, whatever. So that's what I would do. And then you want to oil up your ring and then your cylinder and all that. Kind of skipped ahead here, but basically put your other circlip in, make sure your rings are still clocked, and then put your cylinder on. Do one ring at a time, you know, squeeze them one at a time. I kind of put it on like a tire. I squeeze one side, get it kind of on, and squeeze the other, go back and forth kind of. But if you can, just get them all at once and just slide it on. And then you torque these bolts to 33 foot-pounds, and then the torque spec for these is good enough. Next step, before anything else, put this timing chain guide in. For some reason this chain got bound up around the sprocket, so I threw it in gear and rocked it, and then it was fine. And then if you're reusing a cylinder or swapping them or something, you're gonna have to reuse your studs if you didn't get one, kit with studs. So you'll use the double nut method, which you take 2 nuts, put them on there, tighten them against each other, and use the bottom one to take them out. And then you do the same thing for putting them in, but you tighten them from the top. But with these, you just thread them in, and there's an Allen head on the top of the stud. You can torque it to 33 foot-pounds. You need to do it with those other ones too if you reuse them. But yeah, it's pretty easy to do all that. So this stud and this stud are different heights than these two. This one is the tallest one. It's towards the intake. You run it in this hole here, back towards your carburetor. Second tallest one goes in your exhaust. These two are the same, so it don't matter. You can see those Allen heads I'm talking about. But yeah, you just run these in, torque them to 33 foot-pounds just like these, and then throw your head gasket on and throw your head on. Once you got your head on, torque your bolts to 33 foot-pounds. Drop your spring and plunger in if you're using stock cam. Leave your timing chain tensioner out so you can get the cam gear on. To time your cam and piston, cam and piston. There's an F in there, that means you're on the exhaust stroke. So you're gonna rotate this counterclockwise until it's on the T, which means the compression stroke. And then you're gonna come up here, make sure your cam lobes are facing down. And you're gonna have 3 notches. They're kind of hard to see. Let's see if I can. There's one right there on the right, one on the left, right there-ish. And then there's one that points straight up. You want those level with the head, and you want that one straight up, like that. They're not gonna be perfectly level, but as close as you can get it. You can see right here, I'm about a tooth or 2 off. That right there is in time. This ain't gonna be perfectly level. That one's gonna be slightly down. That'll be straight up, and you're good. You know, engines are a lot like that. They look way better when they got big jugs on them. All right, so next you'll throw on your exhaust. 4 nuts for each, or 2 for each flange, 4 total. Then when you get that on, you can throw on your spark plug wire, and then valve cover gasket and valve cover. Well, throw your air intake on, set your gas tank on there, turn the fuel on, and put your oil in, see if it runs. All right, well, it runs pretty good. It's It's a little warm, so I think it's a bit lean. It's got stock jets, but I'm up at 5,000 feet, so kind of changes it up a bit. But I'm gonna pull the plug and check the color and everything. But basically, gonna let it run for a bit, let it get up to temp, then let it cool all the way back down again. Heat cycle is what it's called, just to help it, you know, kind of seat. I was revving it up a bit over here and there just to kind of get those rings to force out in the cylinder, get them, in my mind, the way that would work is if you rev it up, it's throwing them rings out a bit and, you know, really getting them to wear against that cylinder and make a good seal. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But once you let it cool and stuff, well, you should probably do it when it's warm, but adjust the valves on it. This one sounded a little clacky, but 400EXs just sound that way, even when they're new. When they have a hot cam in it, like mine, it's pretty loud, pretty clicky. But just do that, and then should be good.